You graduate top 15% from UC Davis School of Law, not top 10, not valedictorian, good enough to matter, not good enough to matter easily. Your father is a plumber from Fresno. He refinanced the house twice to pay for your education. You don't talk about that at parties. You pass the bar on your first attempt. You frame the certificate and hang it on the wall of a studio apartment that smells like the previous tenant's cigarettes. Your first job is at a mid-size criminal defense firm in Sacramento. 14-hour days, public defender overflow, DUIs, domestic disputes, petty theft. You're good at it. Not because you believe in justice, because you understand systems. Rules are just architecture. You look for the weak load-bearing wall. Your senior partner is a man named Garza, third-generation Mexican-American. He watches you for 18 months before he says anything real. He says, "I have a client. High profile. Sensitive. The fee structure is different." He slides an envelope across the table. You look inside. You don't open it all the way. The number inside is 4 times your annual salary. You put the envelope in your jacket pocket. You finish your coffee. You say yes before you drive home. The client's name is Rodrigo Espinoza. He goes by El Contador, the accountant. He does not look like what he is. He's charged with money laundering and conspiracy. Federal case. The evidence looks solid until you read it. Then it looks assembled. There's a difference. You find 3 chain of custody breaks in the financial records. 1 wiretap authorization signed 40 minutes after the surveillance started. You get El Contador acquitted in 11 days. He shakes your hand outside the courthouse like you just closed a real estate deal. That night, a car arrives at your building. Inside the bag, 5 bundles of cash and a bottle of Clase Azul tequila. No note. You tell yourself it's a bonus. You put 4 bundles in your safe and spend 1 on a new suit. Garza calls the next morning. He says, "More where that came from. Are you comfortable?" The question is familiar. You already know it's decorative. The second client is a man named Varela, transportation coordinator for the Sinaloa network. The charges are more serious. Your strategy has to be more creative. Creative means filing 17 motions before trial, suppressing the lead evidence, getting the key witness relocated. It works. You bill 300 hours. You collect in cash, routed through a consulting LLC. You tell yourself it's tax optimization. By year 2, you have 4 cartel-adjacent clients. The men you represent are always calm, always polite, always well-dressed. Your apartment becomes a condo in Midtown, then a house in Land Park. Your car goes from a Honda to a leased BMW. Nobody asks. You hire 2 associates, smart kids from Hastings and McGeorge. They handle the DUI overflow. You handle the work that pays for everything else. A woman named Daniela comes into your life at a charity event. She thinks you do white-collar defense. That's technically true. You do not correct the impression. It's easier than the truth. The work changes in year 3. A client named Fuentes needs a fixer. There's a witness scheduled to testify. The witness has a mortgage 2 payments behind. Information, not a threat, just context. You deliver the context. The witness recants. Your client walks. You don't sleep well that week. By the next week, you sleep fine. The rationalization is always the same. You didn't threaten anyone. You shared information. You're just a lawyer. Garza brings you into a meeting you weren't supposed to attend. 3 men you've never seen. The room is in the back of a restaurant closed for lunch. The man at the center does most of the talking. He's not a client, he's a principal. He thanks you by name. He explains, the organization needs a legal architecture, shell companies, trust structures. You're being promoted. The fee structure would take you 10 years to earn legitimately. You're 31. You think about your father refinancing the house. You say yes the same way you said yes to Garza's envelope. Without drama, without ceremony. You pick up your pen. You spend 4 months building the structure. 19 shell companies, 3 offshore trusts in the Cayman Islands, 2 law firms in Mexico City, a real estate company in Phoenix that buys distressed properties with cartel cash and sells them clean. You never touch the drugs. You never touch the violence. You touch the paper trail. Paper is the difference between prison and a portfolio. Daniela asks you once about a late-night phone call. You say it was a client in Tokyo. She nods. She wants to believe you. You propose to Daniela on a Sunday morning over coffee, because you've decided a normal life needs a centerpiece. The wedding is 40 people. Garza sits in the 3rd row. He gives a toast. He doesn't mention what the work is. Daniela's father shakes your hand twice and says he's proud she found a good man. The sentence lands somewhere uncomfortable. Year 4. The FBI field office in Sacramento opens a RICO investigation. You don't know this yet. The first sign is Fuentes stops returning calls. Then his wife calls. He's been picked up. Federal hold. No bail hearing. You visit him in custody. He says one word before the guard cuts it short. Domino. It's a name. You know the name. Domino is a federal informant. He has recordings. He has your name on 3 of them. You drive to Garza's house at 9 in the evening. He opens the door in a bathrobe. He's not surprised to see you. Garza says, "This was always a possibility." He says it the way a pilot mentions turbulence. Routine. He has a plan. The plan documents sanitization, witness pressure, and a criminal defense attorney for you. Not Garza, someone outside the network. You spend a week shredding documents. You tell Daniela you're working on a major case. She brings you food. She doesn't ask questions. 2 federal agents show up at your office. They're polite. They want to talk about Varela. You say, "I'd be happy to speak through counsel." On the way out, one of them pauses, says, "Smart people make bad choices when they feel safe." You sit in your office for 20 minutes after they leave. You think about the Cayman accounts, the Phoenix properties, how good you are at this. You call your criminal defense attorney. Her name is Petra, former federal prosecutor. She says, "Tell me everything." Petra's assessment, at least 2 counts of money laundering conspiracy, possibly obstruction. RICO exposure depends on Domino. She says, cooperation is the difference between 3 years and 15. Think about what you have to offer them. You think about the principal. You think about Garza. You think about Daniela's father, saying he was proud she found a good man. You go home. Daniela is reading on the couch. She puts her book down and doesn't say anything else. That night, you lie awake and inventory what you've built, everything resting on a foundation that was always illegal. You built a life that looks like success, and every piece of it can be introduced as evidence at sentencing. In the morning, you make breakfast before Daniela wakes up. You are buying yourself one more normal morning. When she comes down, she knows, not the details, but the shape of it. She says, "How bad is it?" You don't lie to her this time. You tell her as much as you can, without making her a witness. She cries once and stops. She asks, "What are you going to do?" You tell her, "I don't know yet." That's the first completely honest thing you've said to her in 3 years. She holds your hand. You meet with Petra again. Not cooperation. Not yet. You want to see what the government has first. Petra files for disclosure. 93 pages, 18 recorded calls, your voice on 6 of them. Page 47 is the problem. A transcript of a call between you and Fuentes, discussing the witness. The words are careful. The meaning is not. Garza calls 3 days later. He says the organization needs to know your intentions. That sentence doesn't mean what it sounds like. It means, are you going to be a problem? You tell Garza, "I'm handling it." He says the organization takes care of people who take care of the organization. You think about every client who was promised protection and then became a liability. Petra says, the U.S. Attorney's Office has reached out. There's a window. It closes in 2 weeks. You ask, what does cooperation look like? She says, testimony, names, offshore accounts, everything you built. You ask about Daniela. She's clean. She didn't know. Your license is gone either way. That part's done. The license you spent years building. Your father's refinanced house. The frame certificate. Gone either way. You drive past your office that night. Your name on the door. Associates' cars in the parking lot. You think about the first client. The envelope. The number inside. How little you hesitated. You call Petra at 11 p.m. You say, set up the meeting. She says, okay. The meeting with the U.S. attorney takes 3 days. You tell them everything in the order they need to hear it. The principle, the structure, the 19 shell companies, the offshore trusts, the Phoenix properties, all of it. On the 3rd day, a prosecutor slides a document across cooperation agreement, reduced charges, disbarment. You sign it on a Tuesday afternoon. Your hand doesn't shake. You hand it back across the table. Garza is arrested 4 days later. 47 counts. The network goes quiet overnight. 11 members get federal charges. 3 directors flip. The Cayman accounts are frozen. The structure you built took 4 months to construct. It took 6 years to dismantle. Daniela stays. She says, I stayed for who you were before you decided money was worth more than honesty. You lose the house. You lose the BMW. The firm's accounts are frozen. The associates find new jobs in a week. You move into a 2-bedroom rental in Elk Grove. The walls are bare for a long time. Supervised release means a check-in every 2 weeks. A federal officer who has seen every version of your story before. You apply to teach paralegal courses at the community college. She hires you anyway. The first day of class, 23 students, half of them older than you expect, people who want something better than where they started. A student asks, "Why'd you leave private practice?" You say, "Professional restructuring." You think about what that actually means. Daniela gets pregnant the following spring. She looks at you first. Something unspoken passes between you. You don't tell the baby what you did. Not for years. You practice the version of yourself you want to become. Some nights you pass the law building at UC Davis on the way home. You think about the man you were at 25. How certain he was. That man thought systems were architecture. That intelligence was a tool you could point at any target without the aim changing you. He was right about the architecture. He was wrong about what the building was for. Garza writes you a letter from federal custody. It says, "You were the best I ever developed. Be better than I was." You fold the letter and put it in a drawer. Accountability needs a witness, even when the witness is just a piece of paper. The paralegal students graduate in May. One says, "You're the only teacher who explained the law like it mattered and like it could go wrong." That's the closest compliment you've heard in years, that you can actually keep. You drive home. You don't stop at the law building this time. You think about all the men you defended, the calm eyes, the quiet certainty that the system was a tool, and they were the ones holding it. You were one of them. Not the man in the jumpsuit, the man in the suit across the table, the one who got paid to keep the structure standing. The structure doesn't stand. Every organization built on fear and money eventually reaches a moment where the math stops working. The math stopped for you, on page 47. A transcript of your voice making choices that couldn't be unchosen. You can't undo the structure. What you can do is teach people how to recognize the envelope before they open it. Because the envelope always looks the same. The number inside is designed for the version of you that needs to feel like it was worth it. That's a wrap. The story is fiction, but somewhere right now, a lawyer with a good eye for systems is reading an envelope. If this made you think, drop a comment below. Subscribe for more. See you in the next one.